Hello there, La-Di-Da's and National Spectators. We are very excited that you're going to be joining us for this special two-part edition of the La-Di-Da Times as we get ready for our final weekend of the year, that being Michigan Cup time. We've had a very long and extensive history with the Michigan Cup going way back to the first time it was replayed in 2008, and La-Di-Da's are looking forward to going back out and representing Greenfield Village there. With this pair of episodes, we wanted to give a special spotlight to our friends in Bay City, who not only are hosting the tournament, but are going through their 20th anniversary and actually just about to wrap it up with this coming weekend. And so I invited several members of the team in varying generations. I could have invited so many more. The team has always been great hosts to us, have always been wonderful people. We had a few of them on to tell some stories about their involvement with the team and what playing vintage baseball means to them. So we hope you enjoy the special two-part edition of the La-Di-Da Times featuring the Bay City Independents. Enjoy. Hello there, La-Di-Da's and National Spectators, and welcome to this special edition of the La-Di-Da Times. Marcus Dixon is on assignment right now. So he will not be joining us. And so in order to fill his shoes, I had to call in some friends. And we're going to call this our Oops All Independence edition of the La-Di-Da Times, as we got six gentlemen here who maybe have never put on a La-Di-Da's uniform before, but they are still a part of our team's history. One of our longtime friendly rivals, the Bay City Independents. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on board and doing this recording with us here. So to kind of show you off who we have and who's going to be with us here, all six of the gentlemen, we're looking kind of going across from, I'm looking at my screen with the top left here, starting with maybe one of the most feared hitters for the Independents for the longest time here, the Silverback, Jeff Rolfe. Jeff, thanks for coming on board.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. With us as well, one half of the legendary LaRue brothers, tandem here, Thomas the Tomcat LaRue. Tom, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, pleasure to be here on a Friday night that doesn't include football. We get to talk a little baseball instead of a little football.
Yeah, it's still baseball season somewhere.
Yes, it is.
I would reckon. And so next to him on my screen, the schoolboy Jeremy Stedry. Jeremy, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Sure thing. Down to the bottom left on my screen here, the current club captain, the Moonlight Graham Parker. Graham, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Good evening.
Sure thing. Good evening to you. The other half, and one of the nicest gentlemen that has ever greeted me with regularity when we come out. Every time I come to an Independence game, he runs to me, big firm handshake, Mr. Sean LaRue. Tanner, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Cougar, I appreciate this. What a great honor and a privilege to be part of this today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And speaking of honor and privilege, you can't really have a conversation about the Bay City Independents past and present without including the captain himself, Jamie Johnson. Jamie, thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. And especially with all of these wonderful guys. So.
Yeah, this historic baseball itself is definitely a fraternity of good people, good ball players. And it's really even better when you can keep them all on the same team for as long as you guys have. So we wanted to celebrate that, as it has been 20 years of independent baseball up in Bay City. And I say up in just because I'm down in Southeast Michigan here, but it's cool that you are celebrating 20 years in the vintage baseball world here. You started off with a nice connecting point here with your very first game, kind of in honor of the very first game with the very first opponent there. Graham, I want to throw it over to you first as the man at the helm of the Independence. When you started this, I mean, I'm sure it was all a big team effort, but when you were envisioning a 20th anniversary of this team, what were some of the things you wanted to make sure were included so that way it was really the best and fullest you could?
Sure. So the planning process actually started, it was 2 seasons ago, where Kid Garcia and myself started to formulate the idea of, wouldn't it be cool if we recreated the first match we ever had? And I got a hold of Dan Rowland, the captain of the Mount Clemens regulars, and just said, hey, what do you think about this? Have you up in Carroll Park? Try to get around the same day, I think within a day or two of the original date back in 05. And we just wanted to make sure that it was as close to that as we possibly could get. We invited independents from throughout the years to come out and see it. Just wanted to make a spectacle out of it, really.
How has the season gone so far? Is it what you guys wanted it to be? Is it what you hoped it would be for a celebration of 20 years?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of friends that we haven't seen in a while. Northville came and visited us. We played the Grangers. We had hoped to come and play you guys down at the Village, but Mother Nature had other plans that Saturday. But I mean, wins and losses this season, I couldn't care less about it. It's more about a celebration of 20 years of vintage baseball. And I think the guys on the call would agree with me. Like, we've just had a lot of fun taking the field and spending Saturdays together.
Like, truly what it's all about, to be able to do that with regularity. It is truly about having that kind of fun with each other here. So we want to talk about this, this 20-year odyssey that your team has been on here. And even then, I mean, if you want to go the real history route, I mean, baseball in Bay City goes all the way back, at least post-Civil War, 1865. We find Bay City is all over the tournament realm and all over the tournament field here. But the modern reincarnation, Jamie, I want to ask you, what got you into vintage baseball, or what gravitated you towards it?
Oh, so I'm an educator, as most people are here, and you are as well. We were doing a baseball themed thing at our school. And I have actually a picture. I'm going to move in my basement and I will see if I can show it to you. I have a picture. I don't know if you can see that or not. Move it out like this. Nope, that's still not good. Get the camera there.
There we go.
There you go. So this guy, like right over here, is actually my great grandfather, and in a bar / restaurant that we used to frequent a lot during our fantasy football days. That portrait hung there. That was my great grandfather's baseball team in Bay City, and they were known as the Bay City Generals. So I went to go get a replica uniform made, and that hangs over here to my right, but I won't try and do that. I'm going to make everybody dizzy. And when I did, I came upon, the vintage, what was it? Yeah, there's the vintage baseball league and information about them. And then I saw on ESPN, they were doing the World Series of Vintage Baseball. And I thought, this is amazing. So I started, I went and I found that Midland had a club. So I went down to actually watch one of their games, and I said, well, we can do this. So I went and did research, local newspaper, microfiche, and whatever else for like months, and tried to trace it back as far as I could. I read lots of books and what have you, and found out that Bay City traced itself back to 1865. And so originally they were called the Washington Club, but we centered around the Independence because that was the first professional club. So that's what we went with as far as the names go, and the colors, because they were red and white. So, but yeah, that's how it kind of got started. So then we went from there.
How did recruitment go? Because I mean, you got to have 9. Do you have 9 buddies immediately? And how do you convince somebody to go try vintage baseball?
So that's a great story too. So the bonus to that was, we all played. We had just recently gotten old and stopped playing. Softball, modified softball, fast pitch softball, all those varieties of softball that you can play in Bay City, but we still participated in fantasy football. So we were getting together, and I said to the guys, "Hey, there's this thing I would like to try." And I told them about 19th century baseball, no gloves, wooden bats, what have you, and they laughed. And I said, "Well, listen, it should cost approximately this much to be able to get uniforms, bats, balls, whatever. If I get the money, will you play?" Well, they've been drinking. So they said, "Yeah." So that's what I did. So then I set about trying to fundraise, and lo and behold, in about 4 months' time, I was able to raise nearly $4,000 from area businesses to go ahead and get us started. And that kind of bummed them out a little bit, because they actually had to hold up to what it was they said they would do. And then we went about like trying to find other people. So it was, my wife was a teacher in Zilwaukee, and we knew that Sean LaRue played there or worked there. So we tried to get him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do that." Mm-hmm. So we got Sean LaRue, so that was easy. And then my brother-in-law he agreed to play, and then he said, "Hey, I know a guy who loves baseball." And so there you get Kid Garcia, and Kid's like, "Well, I'm going to bring my brother Doc." And that was a nice bring along. So we got him. And then it was, then we had like Jeff Dienauer, who was the guy who ran our fantasy football league and who was stuck doing what he said he was going to do. And then he said, "Well, I can get my brother Dennis." So, we ended up with, 3 brother tandems right off the bat. And then, various folks that we just kind of knew, and that's how we got our 9. We ended up with about 16 guys to start off with. So it was kind of nice. And the nice part was they were all really into it to begin with. Plus, we would bring beer to practices. So you would get about 17 guys at least every single time. So it was kind of nice.
Be nice to get 16 players now today.
Yeah. You gotta bring beer.
Yeah, we still bring beer, and still.
Sean, is that how you
feel like a lot of
the founding stories?
Yeah, that was when Cap approached me about it. He had already had his meeting with his friends and his teammates, and then it was I got the story about the plans written on a napkin, and front side, back side, and it was just amazing, the conversation about when he presented it, when he said, "Yes, it's going to be barehanded, it's going to be wooden bats, it's going to be gentlemanly play." And when he started going through those, I said, that sounds like a great adventure. It just sounds like something to be a part of. And I didn't know any of the other guys. I knew Cap Johnson, but beyond that, the other gentleman I did not know at the time. I was kind of the odd man out, but you would not have known it. I tell you, when this was the group that he had talked to ahead of time, that were already in, that knew they were going to be a part of it. When I joined, and it was like we had known each other for years after just one practice or one meeting. And I think the vision that Jamie had really transcended itself into a number of the other gentlemen, and it just stuck. And then the idea of, hey, we're actually going to do this. Let's start practicing. And yeah, I think one of our first practices, one of our guys earned his nickname of Hooks. And, then we found out, hey, this is real. The fingers, they can get broken. The bats can break. So it was kind of like a number of things happened. But just really neat opportunity, and probably one of the best decisions in terms of myself, because again, I didn't know anybody, I didn't know anything else outside of baseball, but I was willing to learn more about baseball at its earliest stages, and what a great opportunity for sure.
Sean is referring to Brian Hooks on a Freeling. Brian Freeling, at one of our first practices, I couldn't be there. I rolled the ball and the bats out. I'm like, I'll be back. I had to even remember where I had to be, but I remember I came back. It was our first outdoor practice. We had done some indoor practices with things, and I came back and up there. And Brian Freeling was not. He's like, dude, he's at the hospital. I shouldn't laugh, but he attempted to catch a ball, and it just demolished his finger. They had to put it together with pins that popped out of either side. Hooks. So he became Brian Hooks on a Freeling. So yeah, good times.
So Sean, you're in, at the beginning time. It takes a few years, but Tomcat, you're going to be the next of at least of this group to join in full time. What's your origin story with Bay City?
So like we talked about a little bit earlier, that Sean had joined. Even I was teaching at New Val Catholic Central, and we talk about the River Hogs out of Midland. Well, Gary Rocha happened to be the captain of the River Hogs, and since we taught together, he needed a center fielder, he needed a shortstop, he needed some players to be able to play for his club. And I told him, Gary, it does not fit my schedule. It doesn't work. He goes, it wouldn't matter anyway. You wouldn't play for the River Hogs. You'd end up playing with your brother over in Bay City. That's what ended up happening. So that's 05. He asked me again in 06. He asked me again in 07. I was still playing modified at the time. And it just, again, it was tough to be able to do two things at one time. I wasn't willing to give up my weekends and still played pieces during the week. We attended one match. I think we were playing Kent. You guys were playing Kent one time. We were coming back from up north with the cabin. I don't know what it was, whether they looked like they either needed a player or were looking for a particular position. And I said, I can do that. I think I'd be able to do that. And I ended up talking to Sean, and I said I'd be willing to play. And he said we actually had, and he talked to Cap, and he goes, yeah, we actually need somebody. I don't know, Saturday or the following Saturday to go to Mount Clemens. We're a little short. We don't have somebody to play second sack at the time. And I actually filled in for that particular day. Nervous as all get up. Being that first time ever playing anything like that. The guys are already somewhat established, already 3 years in. But it's one of those that I enjoy the camaraderie. It's just a little bit different. I'm on the tail end of softball. I've been doing it for some time. And I said, this is a little different, in a good kind of different. Where this is you're part of something a lot bigger than something that I've ever experienced before. And I said I'd give it a shot. And I said I'm into this full tilt, so much so that I just kind of decided to step away. And I said I'd be able to give this something else up to start something new. Also get a chance to play with my brother. It doesn't happen very often where you get a chance to be able to do something with a sibling. But it also happened, and Jamie was dealt with that earlier. That said, we had 4 sets of brothers at the particular time, which I thought that was pretty neat. But it is nice to be able to play ball with your brother. We did it for a little bit for modified, but we kind of continue to do that. And I go as long as I can go till my body would tell me that I can't go anymore. And then the rest of that, it's really enjoyable and just talk it up. And it's nice to be able to talk about it in the classroom today. You still do that? You're getting old. You shouldn't be playing that anymore. So, but it's just one of those that. But You just look forward to it on Saturday. Look forward to particular trips that we have for every year. Look forward to Greenfield Village in the World's tournament, and those types of things, or particular opponents, and you see the same types of people on the clubs every year, which is really nice. New clubs coming in. We go back to, we couldn't beat the Grangers at one time, and then we finally beat the Grangers at some time, and then but that's about it. That's where we're at.
Hey, Jeff, if I can I'm
Go for it.
listening to Tom tell his story, and all I can think of is Sean saying the first time, "Hey, we're going to be short," and Tom going, "What? Eight's enough.
8 is enough.
Eight's enough."
Yeah.
8
I
will
was
be
Chelsea.
enough.
Don't tell him who
Nothing
you're
against
playing
Chelsea,
against.
yes.
That could be an insult.
Yeah, we're not going to say who we're playing against.
So brothers are coming in, and then I kind of look at those late 2000s Bay City, like this is a team that's for real. This is a team that's legit. And then in 2011 and 2012, you guys pick up two extremely good players that really make everybody take notice. Jeff, we'll start with you coming in 2011. How do you find out about this, about Bay City independent baseball?
I'm assuming those two that you were talking about couldn't make the call tonight, so you picked us up, right?
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, so I was still playing softball at the time, and I was at a tournament, and the Independents came, and they were going to put on an exhibition game. And I knew Kid. I grew up playing ball. I've played ball with Al. He's a couple years younger than me, but we've played ball together since we were kids. And so they stopped this tournament in the middle of the Saturday, and they got some ball players together and said, "We're going to have you take on this team from the Bay City Independents." And I've played baseball since I could walk, and I've always loved it. And I've also been a huge history guy since I was a little kid. And I was immediately, I fell in love with it in the first inning, and the banter with the guys back and forth. I had a great time. That one of my favorite pictures from my time was before I was even on the team. I was on second. I think I had hit a double, and Tomcat and I are just sitting there talking on the base. And I didn't know Tom, but just the friendly, and all the guys were that just amicable. And like Sean said, it's such a welcoming community. I ended up picking, that was in 2010, and in 2011, I I really got on Al. I said, "Hey, I want to play with these guys. Let me come to a practice. When's practice? When's practice?" And so I got to practice, and again, I really knew Al. I knew Al, and I think I knew Freddie Brissett on the original squad, and that was really all I knew. But I knew these guys that were playing a really interesting form of baseball. I loved it, and from day one. Just they welcome you in. Everything they really made you feel as though you were part of the team from the get-go, and I was hooked. I fell in love with it, and I played. I really enjoyed my time with some of my best times in organized sports have been with the Bay City Independents. And it's not just on the field. The field is a small part of it. I think what makes us such a unique and successful club in Bay City is that we do so much stuff together. Our yearly trips, getting a group of guys, 8 or 9 guys, and getting in a big oversized white van and driving out to the Field of Dreams to play, driving 9.5 hours one way, getting ready as it's raining in a hotel, going and playing baseball for the night, and then getting up the next morning and driving 9.5 hours back, just to have that experience together. When we went to play Indiana, the River Hog. Was it the River Hog? Not the River Hogs. The
Grinders.
River Grinders.
River
Deep River
yeah.
Grinders.
Yeah, the Red and the Deep River Grinders, and we rented a house for 3 or 4 days, and my time with the guys in between the games that's the stuff that that I remember. Was the best part. I've always loved playing baseball, but this team really helped me learn about what a club was and enjoying. One of my all-time favorite memories with outside when we went the last time we went to Gettysburg. We had friends that were not going to go, and they said they weren't going to go, and we were sending pictures from the day that we got there, and it was Red Stick, the Perrys, and he's like, "Oh, you guys look like you're having so much fun." I'm like, "Bro, we miss you. We're having a blast." And the next night, we were up in our place, and I get a knock on the door, and I go to the door, and it's his son, and he's like, "Hey, buddy," and they drove all night to come and be with the guys, and that to me, I'm like, that's what baseball is about. These guys drove all night just to be with their brothers. They wanted to be a part of it. That's the experience you get with Bay City. Baseball wins and losses, like Graham said, it's those come and they go. But the memories that I've made with my brothers on the team, the memories that I've made with my friends that I've made through baseball, through vintage baseball, those are the things that I'll always remember.
Here. Well said. So Jeff, you joined in 2011.
Yep.
And then the very next year, the youth movement continues. Jeremy,
no
tell
more.
me about you. Yeah.
No youth movement
No,
down.
no, you
Go
still
ahead.
got color in your beard. You're good.
I try.
Tell us about your origin story. How did you discover the Bay City Independence?
So it's always with us. A lot of it, outside of maybe a couple, is a guy. I actually got I can almost kind of thank SVSU for this because I got placed in Tom LaRue's classroom. I actually student taught for Tomcat in the fall of 11, and eventually after that I went through a small little parent-teacher conference and ended up in getting hired because of one of those, it felt like anyway. And oh, by the way, she's the principal for Sean's school. So I went from student teaching with Tom to teaching and a colleague of Sean's within a year. And it also happened to be where Carrie was at, Jamie's wife. Well, I vividly remember meeting Tom for the first time, and he shows up, and he's full of white paint all over. He's like, I think that you were painting your house, weren't you?
Yeah. Yep.
He's like, hey, I'm painting my house. I just got back from Cooperstown. I was playing, and you guys were just playing at Omegang, from what I understood. I'm like, you playing at Cooperstown? What are you doing? He's like, well, I play this game. I'm like, okay, and kind of shoved it off as nothing. I'm like, okay, I got to worry about my business. And eventually, it wasn't either of these two, and it wasn't even Jamie. It was Carrie that told me, you should go to a practice one time. You should go to a practice one time. And I ended up meeting a lot of Sean's family because little Sean, Bam Bam, was born that same year, and got to meet Trisha too. And like, okay, I'll go out there and see what this is about. And I went out to a practice. So I go out, and I only know the LaRues. I know Jamie very, very just pleasantries type of stuff. And then there's Jeff. Like, hi, how you doing? And him and Jamie are sitting talking to each other, and Jeff's got a bat and a ball in his hand. So I go out in the outfield, and Jeff hits me a pop-up, and I just happen to catch it in the air. And he just looks at Jamie and goes, he'll do. That was the end of it. I think that's what I remember. That same week, I got to play against the Grangers. They needed an extra guy, and we ended up playing a pretty competitive match and ended up defeating them. But the weekend after was kind of where I got hooked. We went up to Mackinac Island, and the reason I got hooked is the way we played the game. We actually played a bound match, and like everything is different for every different spot that you're at, and it was quite competitive because I think we played the regulars first, if I remember right, and really had to go back and forth. And they actually had the cup at the time, so it was a cup match. It was a different way of introducing to me to a little bit more of a competitive way of playing ball that wasn't on a softball field, and obviously baseball from we were all in school. And between those 2 weekends, I was pretty well hooked, and they just I wouldn't I wouldn't let them tell me to leave. That was pretty much it, and I just kind of stuck around. So that's kind of where I came from. So not so much a family member, just one that got in the right spot at the right time.
And then just kind of became family.
And yeah,
As
just
it
kind of
were,
became
the way-
family. So, it's one where we're all over the place, and with our travels, we're always together. Like Jeff said, it's in a van to Iowa or in the Grismobile going down 23 to the Ohio matches. So, we're always hanging out and doing stuff together. So it very is a much a brotherhood type of thing. And the great part about it is you have these relationships with you. Even, we're talking with you, and we can pick up the phone, know exactly who we're talking to. Same goes with several other players from other clubs. So that's always been a very, very cool thing.
I take from that, that's a great point you bring up there at the end, but I take away that a old friend of ours, Jason Leckrone, once said, he said, I know more of the guys that I play against than in vintage than I do that some of the guys I played with in softball. Like, it really does kind of build that relationship that really does feel strong with you all, which kind of connects, in this whole like Bay City teaching cabal that everybody is, a part of here. So Graham, how did you fit into this relationship, man?
So I had played football for Jeff way back in high school. So I had kind of, in that, I don't know, kind of I wouldn't call it an arm's length relationship, but we'd always been in passing in town. I had known that Jeff had done it and played, vintage baseball. I didn't really know what it was. And then I think the year before or 2 years before I had started playing, he had recruited my brother Twigs to play. And again, it was kind of a passive, yeah, it's just something that they do kind of thing. I think I had been to a match or two. I don't really remember. But the one match I do remember going to see, they came down to play you guys on Father's Day weekend. Father's Day, actually. And I was, that was pretty cool. Just kind of, but again, passively looking at it. And I was working at a job in Saginaw at the time. And I, maybe a half hour before quitting, Taylor calls me. What are you doing? Well, plan on going home. Why? What do you got? He goes, I have a uniform. You're going to be on Ojibwe Island in Saginaw at 5:30, and you're going to play. Okay, I guess. And unlike Jeremy, the first ball hit to me, and every ball hit to me after that, I did not catch. I very vividly remember that. But it scratched that competitive itch that I've been looking for since playing high school sports. Because I'd played church league softball and just pick up basketball and things like that, but nothing really got it. And like the rest of the guys had said after that first match, or even during that first match, just fell in love with it. And I told Jeff right after that, I'm like, I'm in. Just, you're not getting rid of me. I am definitely in. When do we play next? And then, unfortunately, I moved to Grand Rapids like 2 months later. But still, every weekend that we were playing, I drove back, or I met them down in Detroit, or I met them up. Like, I was in, and I wasn't going away, because these guys are my friends and these guys are my family now. It's just the way that it happened, and I couldn't be happier for it.
I love this conversation about like when the guys get on and they're like, you and Jeremy are like, you're not getting rid of me. Like I'm here now. And yeah, it's like the guys who have been on the team for a while are like, dude, we need people. Like we're not getting rid of you. We don't have an auditing process here of getting rid of people. So, but I think a kind of a measure of, the vintage baseball players you want to keep are the ones that are like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, yeah, we don't want you to, we want you to stick around here. So Jamie, to bring it back to you here. So we've got our players. You've got your first roster of guys in 2005. What do you remember about either the first game or even the first season or so? What was the learning curve for you running the ship, as it were?
First game. So first game we played Mount Clemens, and they were kind enough to come down. Paul Hunkley, if you're any club, anywhere looking to get started, call this guy, contact him. Marcus, with you, at that time I wasn't aware of Marcus, but I mean, gentlemen like that who have, and yourself now as well. I mean, gentlemen that have such a vast knowledge of what this game is, and what it should be, what it should look like. We were lucky enough to be able to contact Paul, and Paul kind of helped to direct us a little bit. So we try not to mess it up. We had already made some steps as far as like uniforms and things like that. But Paul kind of directed us in the right way to go. And he volunteered his club to come down and play us in what was like an instructional sort of game. And he came down, and we got a pretty good crew because they were also celebrating 150 years of Bay City in its current formation. So there were people that came dressed in, 19th century attire, and we had people that tried to set up along the foul lines. And probably the most memorable moment for me in that day was that we had people that were really close to the foul lines. And Paul came to me and he said, hey, because I'm caught up in the moment, and this is the first time. So you might want to go down there and let those people know that they're not in a safe spot. So I did. And one of them was right by one of our big trees. Now, you've played at our place plenty of times, so you know what I'm talking about on the left field line, one of the big trees there.
I hate that tree.
So I went down and I said, "Hey, this is probably not a safe spot to be. You're going to want to move." And he said, "What's the ball feel like?" So I let him feel one of the balls we'd been practicing with. He's like, "I think I'll be okay." I'm like, "All right." So we went back, and then we started doing, batting practice / warm-ups before the game. And I don't remember, it was either Trevor David, Bigwood, or Brandon Rivette. Somebody turned on one, and it went incredibly foul. And it probably went about 2 inches in front of this guy's face, and it hit the tree, and then bounded almost all the way back to where I was catching. And he picked up his chair and moved really fast. and that kind of set the tone for, this might actually be impressive. This isn't like a joke with soft little balls and people like playing history. This is like actually competitive, and people moved out, and it was fun after that. I remember that same day we had Doc, Justin Garcia, Alan's brother, was taking batting practices, and he hit like 2 or 3 balls that went over the fence into the pond and drew oohs and ahs, and that was fun. That was the first day. So if I was to like go with that would be that. After that, there was a whole lot of like getting your butt kicked to begin with. So just learning how to catch the ball was not good for a lot of guys when they were playing teams who have done it for a while. And so there was a definite learning curve there.
I'm going to pass this around. So now, anybody who wants to answer, go for it here. But Jamie brings a point about, learning how to play, or in some cases, unlearning modern baseball. For you've been playing for years and years. I mean, in some cases, the techniques that you use in modern baseball are really difficult to pass over defensively into the vintage game. The simple act, or we consider now the simple act of catching the ball, be it a pop fly or play and catch or a ground or whatever. Did you guys run into any struggles with learning how to catch, or did it come naturally?
I mean, going back to the story I told in my first match, the whole thing was a struggle out in right field. I never left a baseball game before, or a softball game before, with bruises covering my whole torso. But that totally happened. Didn't catch a thing, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, when we would have the new guys like Graham and Taylor, what we would talk, because we've all been through that transition. When you grow up most of your life and you're using a glove, you get really used to that, just that split second before you catch the ball, it goes in the glove. I'm starting to look at where I'm going to go with the ball. What am I going to do with the ball? And that's where you lose it when you take the glove away, that split second just before you take your eye off of it. So one of the things that we really would work on with our younger kids, younger kids, Graham, that's and Schoolie, when he was like, keep your eye on it all the way in, and they were able to adjust, but that was something that was difficult for me too. I just and when you've played ball all of your life and you've never had an issue catching a ball, and you're like, well, I'm just taking the mitt off. Why is it so difficult? There is a transition for it, and it becomes difficult for a little bit. And it's that. But that's another thing that was so great. When we got on the squad, everyone was sharing their experiences, and when you transition from one style of a ball to another, I didn't have one guy saying, "Hey, try this." I had 9 guys, 10 guys saying, well, here's what I see, try doing this, and everything was there designed to help you be more successful.
Well, between that and just observation too, like before I started being kind of the left fielder for us, it was Buttons' role, and I remember one of those first matches, he went down and he slid forward, went down to the ball as opposed to bending down for it, and I'm like, that seems like that would probably be the easiest way to do this, is trying to keep it as close to your chest and your breadbasket as you can in order for you to try and seal it. So that's kind of what I've used a lot of is just going down to the ball, and like Jeff said, the concentration on it is so much more important. And going from that transition from some of us doing the softball to the baseball is like, I just got to remember, they got to go 90 feet. They don't got to go 60 feet. Yes, there are some quick guys, but I still got an extra 30 feet that I got to worry about. So I'm still in good shape.
That 90 feet's legit.
Yeah. And I feel like the base running, always a live thing, was a bigger issue for me than fielding the ball.
Yeah.
Like making sure you knew when to get back after a foul ball, or when we went out to Gettysburg and Jeff is out there pummeling the ball, but he's bounding out and you're scoring from second. That was the hardest part.
Wow.
And Jeff's all frustrated. Right, bud?
Wow.
So going back,
you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you?
When you're used to a glove for so long, now there's no extension. So now you really have to center. Now you actually have to take 2 or 3 more steps to get whatever that center to be able to get. And then it goes back to a lot of repetition, lots of reps.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps that we practice once a week, or try to get in there once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play as many matches as you can. And usually the ball will find you. Usually, if you're the rookie that somebody's out there, the ball will always find you. So
Right.
but a lot of the time is you just need to be able to get and center yourself to be able to catch. And there's a whole bunch of different ways. Everybody catches it a little bit different, and then you just try something that works for you. So,
well, I gotta say, Jeff. So, as being a catcher or a pitcher, when Jeremy had referenced Buttons, so Buttons in left field had this technique where it was a habit where he would look up, like brush his hands on his shirt, and catch the ball. If there was ever an instance where it was a 1, 2, that's how you would gauge just how high that ball was. And I remember one time there was a gentleman from the Old Goals who hit one. We won't name his name, and that's just fine. But he hit one that went so far straight up that I remember turning around and look, and it was 1, 2, 3. And then finally it did come down. But I remember asking Buttons about that afterwards. He said, I swear to God, all I saw was this tiny little dot in the sun.
hey, don't we have a player in today's game right now for another club that does a similar thing? Do we have somebody that does it for maybe Canton that actually does that same thing that Buttons does in the long field?
Oh, we have someone who does the hand brush?
Yeah, we'll do that. Yes.
Really?
Who might that be?
Marbles?
Oh, that's funny.
Marbles does. He does. It does something similar to that. Very similar.
When he settles, he does something similar.
Correct. He does, doesn't he? Yep.
Yep. I didn't even think about that until you said from Canton. I was like, oh yeah.
But yes, he does. He does something like that before he catches it. Yeah.
So all right, so we've got some issues with learning curve, but Jamie, I wanted to at least ask you, for 2005, again 20th anniversary of the Bay City Independence. 2005 is also when I started, and I think the first time our clubs ran into each other would have been Pierce Cup, Grand Rapids 2005.
Yeah,
and so that was literally my first game against.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's right.
We started against Kent. Mm-hmm. And I remember I drove there with Mike Ossie and our shortstop at the time, Brian Dellapella. So the three of us driving out to Grand Rapids, and Mike has got us fired up against the Grangers. Mm-hmm. We're not looking at anyone else. He's like, as long as we beat the Grangers, that's what I want to do with that here. And so we completely looked past Kent and lost. And then came time to play the Grangers. And part of the way through the game, Ossie blew out his knee.
Yes, he did.
On a play over to third base.
Yep.
And lost that game. And I feel like, did you guys win 2005?
The tournament? No. So we beat you.
Yeah.
Then we actually, did we beat Kent? I think we did. But then we got smoked by the Grangers. It was like really bad. That was our last game of the day, and they were making fun of our catcher who had the ball like out because we were playing with the ball that they play in Gettysburg, that really bouncy ball that day. And that was one of the things that when I talked to Mike while he was sitting on the picnic table recovering, because I remember we all helped him off to the picnic table and we sat there and chatted with him, and he's, good Lord, he sat there with that blown out knee and chatted and drank beers. Of course, I think he was still sweating beer because I think he was only, at that time, was he only 20 years old?
He was a year younger than he is a year younger than I was, so he would have been 21 or 22.
Yeah.
So he's at least of legal drinking age.
Yeah, he was sweating beers out while he was on the picnic table in agony. And we were sitting there chatting with him. But yeah, it was an interesting, it was a fun day, but we had one of our guys who had to catch for us because somebody else got hurt, and he took a ball straight off the face in the last game, and the Grangers were making fun of him, which is fine. It is what it is. They got out to a really big lead, and then we started to catch up, and then it got quiet for a little bit, but they still ended up beating us pretty well. So
They play. Is it free get backs?
It can. Yeah, they play make believe rules. So I mean, which was one of the things where for years when we would go to the World's Cup, the World's Tournament, and Gordon was there for the first couple of years, and he would complain about that, about the fact that you were doing stealing and what have you, and he would get upset. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. And then he was politely asked not to return. And
yes.
that was the end of that. No, we can talk about that later. So to you guys, like, at what point, Jamie, you mentioned that, you guys are, you're taking your beatings, as Peter Morris calls it in Baseball Fever. He calls it the patience of hope, and that keep playing. Eventually you're going to get better, and eventually you're going to improve here. And so, for all of you guys here, at what point do you notice there's like a change to, from Bay City, there's who's got the patience of hope, to Bay City is progressively becoming one of the best teams in the state of Michigan here? Like, at what point did you kind of realize that was a reality?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good one. So, I think we always had a fairly good group of guys who could play ball. And so as far as that goes, it was all about just learning to catch the ball and to strike the ball in an appropriate way, the way it was being, the way that certain teams were pitching. Because pitching was different in 2005, and this, than what it's like now. We started doing something where pitching was more flat as soon as we started. And we would be asked to slow it down. And I would politely tell people no, because that's not the way the game was actually played.
Stop slinging. Stop slinging.
Yeah. So we would tell, it's like, if you're going to, it's okay. If you want to beat us, we're still going to play this way because that's the way it was supposed to be played. So we're going to do this. And we just, we started to get a little bit better. 2006, it was a little bit more growing. I honestly think by about by 2000.
I say 2009. I do. I say 2009.
Yeah. We started to get, we picked up by that time. We got Dean Cook, we picked up Buttons, and then soon after that, in 2011, we picked up Jeff, and you had like a gradual growth. We picked up Butterfly, and you got to the point where you now no longer had guys that were pretty good. You had guys who were really good in your neighborhood. And it was, it didn't take them long to acclimate themselves to catching the ball without a glove. There were some people like Sean was just amazing at it right away. Jeremy picked up on it quick. Alan and Doc were amazing at it. There are certain guys just pick up on how it needs to be done, and they found a way to do it really fast. There are other people that had to acclimate themselves to it. We had Dean Cook was one of those guys. God love him. He was the guy that you always want to have on your team. If you had a game, he was going to show up an hour early in case you needed help setting up, and he was going to stay late to pick up all the stuff. And if no one in the Bay City area is listening to this, he's the guy who will show up with his brother in a blowtorch and take down a large backstop that had been there since the 1800s to get it out of the way so that you had a great playing surface in Carroll Park. And then salvage that to somebody. But, I didn't say he actually did that. I'm just saying if you wanted someone to do that, that would be the guy you would want.
He is though the guy that you don't want to get stuck with in the hotel room when you're away on a travel.
No, he
Hence
will
the nickname.
snore
Oh,
for nobody's
no.
business, which is why his nickname was Sawmill.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right. So if any members of the Bay City Zoning Board are listening here, we'd like you to fast forward to.
I think statute of limitations will say for
I think so too.
Yep.
They might send him a thank you letter. You never know.
They actually they did, which was funny, Jeff. So this is funny. I get a phone call on a Tuesday, and I'm teaching, and I'm like, yeah, it's Darwin Baranski, not to name drop people that used to run Bay City, but Darwin's like, hey, do you know anything about like someone who might have like cut down a backstop in Carroll Park? Like, no, why? All right, well, that's fine. But I mean, if you do know who it was, let us know, because we've got another one on the west side of the park we want to get rid of. And it was at that time I'm like, all right, it's open, it's fine, we'll be all right.
So Jeff, Jeremy, Graham, you're coming onto the Bay City team that is now, at least in Jamie's words, and I'm sure Tom and Sean would agree, like this is a solid club here. This is not a St. Mary's School of the Blind that you're coming onto. I mean, this is a legit club within the vintage baseball world here. Did you get that vibe when you guys were joining, that this team is a good team compared to the other teams that you're facing?
Jeff?
Absolutely. Whoa! Did you? My phone just did an unsolicited close up. It was yeah. I mean, you could just tell. Well, from the time we were practicing, before I even took the field with these guys on the gents on the first game, you were practicing and you saw skill, and I'm like, these guys can play some ball. And then when we got out there, and again, one of the great things about this squad is we have so much fun together. There's never really overly tight. Before a game, we're having fun while we're doing it. The politeness. Sean is maybe too nice at times. So like whenever we have any kind of we send Sean out there, he's the diffuser. But when right from the get go, when we're playing teams, you can just see that there's that attitude like we are, and there was that very quiet confidence too, like that we knew that we could play with just about anybody and be competitive, because we all loved the game. We were playing. You didn't see a lot of selfish baseball. You saw a lot of guys that were playing for each other, and guys that were picking each other up when you didn't do things right. So right from from early on, I thought I was on a pretty good ball team.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, that Mackinac Island trip, we ended up playing the regulars, but in the end, there was also a second match that we had to play, and it was between the Kents or the Old Golds, and we ended up playing the Old Golds, and I think we defeated them. Right, Jamie? How'd that happen? You remember?
The swinging bunt, man.
The swinging bunt. We ended up having a swinging bunt by Cap over here, and I ended up scoring the winning run, and it didn't really, I'm excited and everything. Until they kind of told me, it's like, yeah, I don't know, was that one of their starts to their runs of winning Worlds for so many years? Like Jamie goes aside, he's like, yeah, they've won the Worlds the last 2 years, and they've been just that competitive of a team, where it kind of clicked in my head. It's like, yeah, we must be pretty good, or I got into a pretty good club, and I didn't really realize it. So, and then from then on, that success of how well we've been playing over the course of the years from 12 on. You know, that's just kind of what I've known from. So, or known as I joined the club.
Graham, you said you've known you've known Jeff for some time. You knew that he played this before you got on board with it here. What was it like between I come from football and I know I'm a good football player, and then you come and transition into the baseball way here. Was it clear to you that this is a good team from when you first came on?
So from just observation and of the match that I had played, I knew that it was a skilled group of gentlemen, and I knew since my first game was against the Old Golds, they were also a skilled group of gentlemen. And just passively hearing the guys talking about, because I think the match that I played was it was that Thursday night match. I think it was your tune-up before the World's Tournament, and you guys were talking about getting back to the championship. So just hearing that, I'm like, okay, they must be pretty serious about this. Let's not screw this up in this match and be that guy. So yeah, I think in the back of my mind, I knew they were pretty good. Well, not pretty good, very good. So yeah, I think not directly did I know that, but subconsciously.
Graham, did you play right field that first game?
Sure did.
Didn't you take one in the cojones?
No, I did not. Common misconception. Hit me above the belt.
Oh, but it was close to the cojones.
Oh, it was too close for comfort, sir.
Okay. All right.
I just remember looking over there from left field that had to hurt.
It didn't tickle. But the thing that stuck out to me after that whole match, and having, I played baseball my whole life, having not caught a ball that whole match, and I'm feeling pretty down about myself, doubting, can I actually even play baseball kind of thing. And I remember after the match was over, I sat down on the bench, and nobody's kind of around, and Sawbones comes up, and he puts his arm around me and sits next to me. And he goes, if you stick with this, you will be a very good baseball player. Just don't let this one get you down. Continue on with it. Try it again. You're going to be okay. And that's always stuck with me, that one moment. And I think that was probably the real solidifying factor of it, of why I fell in love with it. Because yeah, I went out, I did not do great at all. But one person came back and told me to come back and said I would be okay. I'm doing just fine. So that sticks out more than anything.
Wow, now I feel bad.
My own brother didn't even come over and tell me that.
No.
And it's amazing that what those little words of encouragement does. I remember we played at the Akron Cup in 2005, my first year, and I was in left, and it was a brutally hot, humid day out on the old Hewitt Gardens there, and I forgot who exactly we were. I think we were playing Akron, and somebody hit one down the line. It was about a foot or two foul that got called fair, and I was furious about it. And I went and I ran. I went to go fire the ball and make one of those ill-advised throws that you shouldn't do, but you think you're just good enough to make it there. And I absolutely demolished a tree that was 15 feet in front of me. I had no business making this throw, and I was so mad. I'm hearing people laughing up and down and all this. I get on the bench, and it was Mark Hefner who was running the Black Stockings, and he just said the same thing. Sat down next to me. It was don't let one play wreck it. You're going to be fine here. And sure enough, thank you, Mark. Otherwise, I'd be another 1 year casualty of vintage baseball here. So as you see, we could have gone on for a lot longer, and in fact, we did. We went on for another hour or so, but for the sake of manageability here, I'm going to split the recording up at this point here. And so we hope you enjoyed part one of the La Di Da Times special interview with the Bay City Independents, and be on the lookout for part two. And we hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Hopefully we'll see you at Carroll Park this Saturday, as the La Di Das and Bay City Independents will be battling it out at 9 a.m. Bright and early here. So we're friends right now, and I'm sure we'll be friends after, but on the field, we're hard competitors, and we really do want to play and win this tournament here. So I hope you enjoyed part one. Stay tuned for part two coming real soon.